Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that is welcoming somebody. We found him. My name is...
Hello!
Yes, but before we get into that, the person is saying hello. Let me introduce myself. Let me try and be professional about this. My name is Tosin Ajayi. I am the host of Netflix vs. Cinema, and I am based in the UK, in the Midlands. And joining us, as always, on the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen.
Hello.
And making a long-awaited return. We got him. We have claimed him back from Thailand for at least one evening, and that is Shaun Harris. How are you doing, Shaun?
Oh, how are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Good.
And this is a week. Because we've had a couple of weeks where. Well, we had 1 week where there was pretty much nothing in cinemas. Then we had the bank holiday, and then there was like everything in cinemas all in one go. And we've gone down to a week that has sort of slowed down a bit. And this shows you, Shaun, how much we've missed you. We've missed your dedication to going to see films, even if you're... The thing is, let me put it this way, Shaun. You go and see films, even if you're convinced you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah,
You still go see those films. So that's why one of the films that we have been talking about for the last two episodes that we haven't gotten around to seeing is Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore, which none of us. It's not that we didn't have a chance to watch it. It's that we could not muster up the...
To do with choices, the choices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, Holly's got her Limitless card. I mean, Sharon, you still got your Cineworld Unlimited card, right? And the thing is, we just looked at Fantastic Beasts and Secret of Dumbledore, we're just like... Ugh. In Holly's words, she'll wait for it to come up on TV. But then we have Shaun, who was in Thailand and still went, you know what? I'm going to see that film, even though I remember what you said about the second one, because we reviewed it on this show. So I remember what you said about the second one. So Shaun, welcome back. You are welcome back. And so
Thank you very much.
We have
pleased
two things.
Be back.
Yeah, good stuff, man. We have two things in cinema this week. And also, obviously, we've spoken about Fantastic Beasts, Secrets of Dumbledore, but we also have The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which I believe, Shaun, you also saw.
I did, yes.
Because you are, after all, Shaun Harris. And Shaun Harris sees everything. So...
When he can.
Have you seen Morbius yet?
I've not seen Morbius. That was why I went to Fantastic Beasts. I went to because there were like two cinemas. And I looked at the times, and I went to the wrong cinema. I was going to go to see Morbius, but the timings were wrong, and it was the Thai version, not the English with Thai subtitles. So I ended up. I thought, oh well. I said, what's closest to what's near? What's times? And so that was the closest time. So it was to do with timing more than choice, I think.
No problem.
Pick up us.
I mean, I'm happy if we never review Morbius on this show, but
Right.
I've spoken about my prejudices over the last couple of weeks. I've spoken about how about my there's no other word for it, prejudices, where I'm just kind of like I just can't. The Sony superhero stuff is stupid. Yeah. But anyway, Shaun, you were going to say something.
I was, yeah. There was another film I saw when I was out there, and it was called X. It was like a... I reviewed X. Did you?
X.
Yeah. I didn't catch on that. I'm gonna listen to that one then. So don't give me any spoilers there, because I go.
All right, cool.
Go and listen to that one.
All right, cool. Good stuff. Now, and so obviously those are the two things we're going to talk about in cinema. Sharon, what did you see? What have you seen? You've had a cinema lean week.
Yes, no cinema this week because I did a triple bill last week. So this week I managed to catch up on a couple of films. I was going to review a Netflix new release called How It Ends.
Okay.
Cool.
I also saw another film called I Am Woman, which is a Helen Reddy biopic.
Oh yeah, about the lady who sang the song.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I've seen those two, but I wasn't sure if you had anything you wanted to review. So I was going to bring to the table How It Ends.
All right. Cool. How It Ends. I did have something. I had a film called Oxygene, a French film called Oxygene that I saw on Netflix as well. It's one of these films that says a Netflix original, but I think the film existed and Netflix just said, well, we will get the rights to show it in the UK and call it an original. So it's... Yeah. All right, cool. So with that being the case, let us start in probably about the only place that we can start this week, which is the unbearable weight of massive talent. which wins one of the titles of the year. I mean, I think it's just kind of like one of those things that you hear the title and straight away you kind of go, all right, cool. What's that all about? The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. This is a film in which you have Nicolas Cage playing Nick Cage. So it's already so far so meta. The film kicks off on what you see is you see a scene from the action movie Con Air starring Nicolas Cage, and then there's a lady watching it. I believe she's Spanish. She's watching it with her boyfriend, and she's like, "Oh, Nicolas Cage is so cool." And then somebody bursts into her room, kidnaps her, and then you get to meet the real Nick Cage, who is meeting up with a director, and he's trying to convince the director to cast him in this film and everything like that. And you go into this whole idea of what Nick Cage's life is like, and it goes very meta because you have Nicolas Cage playing himself and addressing a lot of the criticisms that people give the real life Nicolas Cage. Like, he works too much. Why does he make so many straight to video movies? What's going on? Is he good or is he bad? Well, he's never going to be as good as he was in The Rock. All that kind of stuff. Okay. So for anybody, if you're watching the video of this, you will see that Shaun has been changing his background to things that link to an Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Now we just have a picture of Nicolas Cage in Face Off, and which plays a part in the film. So you have all these things. And to begin with, it gets all meta and stuff where you talk about Nicolas Cage talking about himself, Nicolas Cage playing himself there, and then the plot kicks in when his agent says, "Look, you're being offered $1 million to go to this guy's birthday party. This guy called Javi in Mallorca in Spain. He's like, go along to it because you need the money and there's no film offer right now." And he goes along to the meet Javi, who's played by Pedro Pascal, who is a massive Nicolas Cage fan, thinks he's the best thing ever, thinks that he's a life-changing actor, and like, oh my god, Nicolas Cage, oh my god, Nicolas Cage, and absolutely loves him. And then there's some FBI agent or CIA agents who show up, and there's some stuff that goes in, and then it gets a little bit sky capery and so on and so forth. So that's what the film's about. The main thing you're going to be showing up for is Nicolas Cage playing Nicolas Cage. That is the main thing you're going to be showing up for, and then other stuff happens, plot and all that. Shaun, what did you think of this?
Yeah, it was well, for me, as I say, it started off absolutely. I was all more or less in hysterics. I was quite chuckling to myself. I thought it was and like you were saying about who's the actor? He's the guy who plays a Mandalorian, and you did say
Pedro Pascal. Pedro Pascal,
that's right. He was so convincing, as he was almost like in love with him. There was almost like a homoerotic thing between them.
It's a total buddy romance buddy romance with a high emphasis on the romance.
Yeah, high emphasis. Yeah. It was like, and I thought it was like, I mean, it was almost believable. Like he was so enamored, so in love with Nick Cage that Nick Cage was the greatest. And there's a few other people. Oh, Nick Cage. And that, there's like some subplots. There's like the CIA get involved and stuff, and I really thought this was quite funny. I was chuckling quite a lot. A few people laughing, and as I say, as the film went on a little bit, it became a little bit, should we say, not a parody, but it sort of became.
Well, it's a bit of a parody. It's a bit of a satire.
Of a parody, I suppose.
It's a bit of a satire, and the thing is, and as the film goes on, because you already have this meta idea of Nicolas Cage playing himself or playing a version of himself, because he has a wife who is not played by his role. It's played by Sharon Horgan. He has a daughter, and then they have this whole thing where obviously his daughter doesn't like him, and then there's this sort of like redemption arc about whether Nick Cage is going to sort of like reclaim his family. And as the film goes on, as Shaun says, I feel like it gets a bit generic. As the film goes on, it made me think of, because every now and then you have a film that starts off as a comedy, but then sort of morphs into sort of like an action buddy comedy. And it made me think a little bit of Pineapple Express, because Pineapple Express does a similar thing where it starts off as this sort of stoner comedy where these people have no direction in life, and the final reel of it looks like an action movie. and this does something very similar where it starts off as this meta commentary on Nicolas Cage, on fame, on Hollywood, on whether people are movie stars or whether they're actors, and it goes all this stuff. But then as you go along, I feel like it's almost like the guy who was writing it, like Tom Gormican, who directed it. It's almost as if he was writing and he was going, "Oh, great ideas! I'm coming up with all these scenarios that Nicolas Cage can be in. Nicolas Cage talking to his younger self. Nicolas Cage watching Paddington 2. Nicolas Cage chatting with Pedro Pascal." And then it's almost as if he went, "We need to finish this thing somehow," and I couldn't figure out how to finish it. And there's bits in the film where they're talking about how you finish the film. So it becomes, and around about that point, around about the bit where the film starts becoming self-referential, that's where I feel like it starts to lose its magic a bit. It starts to lose its magic a bit. So in the end, it is still funny, but it is generic funny as opposed to weird, what the heck am I going on, self-referential funny. So I've been going back and forth on how many stars to give this thing. I've been going back and forth between 3 and 4. Like I think all day, because I think the first part of the film, let's say probably the first half of the film, I would give that a 4. But the way it gets really generic, and towards the end, it's just stuff I've seen other films do before. Even the final bit, there's a final bit that goes meta, film within a film within a film within a film kind of thing. Yeah. And I've seen that done in, there's a film called Have Plenty that I've seen that done in. And it's, so I think I'm going to have to give it a 3, but which is a shame because I think the first half of the film is excellent.
Yeah, I concur totally with that. I'm in an absolute total agreement with that. That it's just like I want to say, yeah. So it's like, the first film, 4 stars definitely, really enjoyable, and then it sort of starts to get a little bit, that's the word, generic, a little bit generic. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to give it a 3 as well. It's going to have to be a 3-star. Shame, really, because it started off terrific. It's
a shame, but I would recommend it. And I think that there's one particular scene, like it's Nicolas Cage taking the absolute piss out of himself, because there's one particular scene where it's kind of like he's pretty much about to slip into a coma, and what they say to him to snap him out of the coma is just kind of so. Oh no! I'll say go watch it. Go watch it. There's a lot of stuff in there. All right, so it's
worth a watch, isn't it? It's a good 3 stars. It's worth a watch.
Like we were talking about this last week, and we were talking about how you can have a 3-star movie. I can't remember what film it was. I think it was The Lost City. Yeah, The Lost City that Sharon reviewed last week. I was talking about how you can have a 3-star movie, but it's a 3-star movie that you recommend anybody to watch. It's like, I honestly I figured this out, Sharon, after we finished recording. I figured out what it was in my head. I was like, it might be a 3-star movie, but it's like a 5-star watching experience. Yeah. As opposed to 5-star movies that might be a 2-star watching experience, like 12 Years a Slave. Brilliant film, never watching again.
There's some worthy films that are excellent, but they're not exactly entertaining because they're...
that's it.
Their own worthiness. But there's some films that are hugely entertaining, but they're just, that's all they are, just entertainment.
They're knockabout. They're knockabout. All right, cool. So that is the kickoff for us with cinema, and now we move over to Netflix and Friends, or actual Netflix. I think this is actually a straight up fight this week between Netflix and cinema. So we have a film that Sharon you saw called How It Ends.
Yes.
Now, okay, I have to say these are some good titles this week. So far, I think The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I would watch that film based on the title alone. How It Ends, that intrigues me and makes me want to actually sort of like watch it. So tell us, what is How It Ends about?
How It Ends is an apocalyptical drama, as opposed to a post-apocalyptical drama. This is basically how we see the end of the world unfold through the eyes of one particular man. And the particular man is played by Theo James. And he is basically he's lived with his partner on like the West Coast, and he has traveled to the East Coast for a meeting, and he meets up with his partner's family, played by Forrest Whitaker, is his like prospective father-in-law. and he has gone out there to sort of talk to them about getting married to their daughter. They don't really approve of their relationship. It's not always easy. Forrest Whitaker's like an ex-army. He's very controlling. He's very particular about what he wanted for his daughter, and this young lawyer played by Theo James wasn't particularly it.
Yeah.
So just as he sort of bottles basically asking his dad's permission, and just as they're about to go, something happens. There's some event on the west coast that they don't know what's happened, but the television starts reporting that we've lost all contact with California, we've lost all contact with that western seaboard, and they don't know what's happening. And then as they're watching this news, the news stations start to fail, and some of the technology they've got starts to fail. And so they decide that because that is where their daughter stroke girlfriend is, not stroke because they're not the same person, but it's Theo James's girlfriend stroke fiance and Forrest Whitaker's daughter. They think that we have to go and find out what's happening. So it then sort of turns into this road trip, whereas as they cross country, they basically see some of the rules of civilization start to break down, where because the infrastructure has more or less sort of ceased to exist, they have difficulties about finding food, finding fuel, getting across the country, people suddenly wanting to be competitive about access to fuel and food. And we've seen with our own recent pandemic that behaviors that you would thought that wouldn't happen, suddenly people do become, it's all about me when they are pushed into a corner. Because we've seen, when we've gone to the supermarkets, instead of just buying what we need, people suddenly started stripping shelves, and we all saw that within the last 2 years. The situation where he's trying to cross country, and suddenly people who were would have been perfectly civil to him days before are now only after their own interests. And so he and Forrest Whitaker encounter sort of this hostility, these different trials and tribulations, and as sort of civilization breaks down, as well as the natural world begins to start shows like signs of cracking. They have there's phenomena, there's weird storms, there's birds that migrate in sort of weird patterns, and they different people along the way. So it's like a road trip, it's like an odyssey, where at each point in the journey you have these encounters, these events, these different signposts to say this is the world as we recognize it, but it's beginning to fall apart. And so this is basically the story of the film. It's this road trip as he gets further west, the more things start to fall apart.
So with that general premise, what did you think of the film?
I thought it had some interesting ideas. It reminds me a little bit of a book I read a long time ago called The Death of Brass, which was set just after the Second World War in England, and how rapidly that just depicts how rapidly civilization sort of breaks down. And I suppose in some regards this does the same thing, where it's talking about how we aren't just going to sort of go down like a gentle decline. It's going to fall off a cliff. It's going to sudden and dramatic.
Well, that civilization is quite fragile.
Yes. So there's interesting things. It had some interesting things to say. There's some of the acting was better than I thought it would be, because in some of these, Forrest Whitaker can either be very good or he can be a bit hammy.
A bit.
Let's just say that Rogue One has sort of I think Rogue One has put Forrest Whitaker in the bin as far as Shaun is concerned.
Treachery.
Because he does have a bit of the whole, what's the expression? Is it chewing wallpaper or something?
Oh no, chewing the scenery.
Chewing the scenery.
Yeah.
He had. There was moments when he was that, because he's this ex-army guy, and I didn't always believe that he was. Quite frankly, and just the way he talked, I'm thinking, I don't believe that you were in the army for 30 years. I'm sorry, I just don't believe you. Yeah. And so you have that that takes you out of the drama, because you think, I'm just not convinced by the character. So there are elements where he was good, there are elements where I'm thinking, no, I don't buy it. But on the whole, I thought they did it very well. The people they encounter, the choices people make, some of the scenes. And I thought that on the whole it was done as well as you can make this sort of film, which is purely speculative and a bit depressing.
So, how many stars would you give it?
I would give it a 3-star rating because it's basically a road trip where you meet strange people, and we have seen that tale before. And so I don't think offered anything particularly new, but it was interesting and what they did have to offer, and it sort of kept me entertained for what it was. But I don't think it ever elevated into me thinking about what deeper issues it could raise, about society.
Sharon, did you ever see the film Greenland, the Gerald Butler film?
No.
All right, cool. Never mind. Then there's no compare contrast that you can do on that, because I was wondering if I was gonna try and compare the two of them. But what you were saying about it reminds me about a film called Blowing Up Right Now that I saw a couple of weeks back, and this is a small indie movie that sounds like the film you're talking about, but with less money. Even less money there. So it's about two people who are in a relationship on the West Coast as well, and then they get this message coming through that there's missiles coming over. There's missiles coming over. It's going to wipe out the entire Western Sea, and it's about what people are going to do, and it's all like a sort of ground level of these two people are in a relationship, and what are they going to do when they're told that they only have 12 hours to live before it all goes up. What are you going to do with? Oh, and also. Oh, okay. Now remembering also some other films. There's a film with Steve Carell and Keira Knightley called "Seeking a Friend for the End of the World."
Yeah.
Which sounds a bit sounds like cover similar ground.
Yeah, I think it definitely falls into this sort of group of films about apocalypses rather than the post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
Not done in like that dreadful, what was it, Moonfall thing that I saw not so long ago. This is more like it's trying to pull it down. This sort of like pulls it down to like an individual level, like Monsters, with that film a few years ago.
Oh yeah, Monsters, yeah.
Yeah, so where you see it on the ground bit, and you never see the big picture. Like in this film, it's not a particular spoiler. You never actually see what it is.
Yeah.
That has caused this. You never find out. They drop some hints and you see some evidence of, an event, but you never actually see. I think a lot of these, you may not do. If you're like a small person living your quiet life, and if there is an apocalypse somewhere, you're not necessarily going to know exactly the minutiae of how it came about.
Yeah.
So, in that regard, it's interesting, but we've been down this road before, so I don't think offered anything particularly new, but it was still, entertaining for all that. So I would definitely give it a 3-star.
Yeah. Also, Don't Look Up. Oh man, this is like a fertile subgenre. don't look up as well. All right, cool. So 3 stars for how it ends, and now, Shaun. We have tried to avoid this film for the best part of a month. We've tried to, but finally, Shawnee Bugman Harris has shown up and has gone. This is the way you do it. If you're going to call yourself a film podcast, you don't just go see the films that you think you're going to like. You go see all of the films. So now, okay, this is Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. The whatever number I think it's the 10th. It's the 10th movie that's been made in the Harry Potter universe, and now I remember both of us went to. Well, I don't think we saw it together, but we both saw the last one, which was The Crimes of Grindelwald or whatever, and I believe. Yeah, what you've seen that as well?
I have seen it. Yeah, I can't remember much about it other than like a lot of running around, but.
I just remember us giving a scathing review of this film and talking about how stupid it was because nothing made any sense, nothing happens, and they keep trying to tell you that something is important when it just really isn't. And they just and in a film that's called Fantastic Beasts, they're totally ignoring all the beasts. They're totally ignoring all the beasts.
Yeah.
And they're trying to give you Voldemort Part 2. And I'm like, I don't want Voldemort Part 2. I came here to see beasts. You put beasts in the title. Give me some beasts. But anyway, that is my my Fantastic Beast rant.
That's all right. One second. If 1 second, I'm just going to turn off. I put the light on to light me up a bit, but it's like a disco ball, so
all right,
on its way out. So I'm just going to turn it off again.
Okay, so you go turn off the light, and then you come.
Right, I'm back.
Yeah,
there we go.
So okay, Shaun, I don't really think we need to know much about the plot of this film, if I'm going to be honest with you. We know that there's going to be wizards, there's going to be Dumbledore. Dumbledore's trying to stop Grindelwald. He's using new Scamander to do it. Yeah, whatever. Plot's inconsequential as far as I'm concerned. The main thing is, what did you think of this film, especially after the second one?
Well, I'll put a little bit in context. It's basically, it starts off with, or was it Eddie Redmayne? I forget his name.
Eddie Redmayne, Newt Scamander.
That's it. Newt Scamander, and he's looking for this creature, and then he gets attacked, and this creature gets sort of robbed by Grindelwald because it can tell the future and whatever. But there is a twin which he manages to save, and there's a lot going. It's quite political, this one. It's quite political because it's all to do with the wizarding community, and they're voting like who's going to be the leader, should we say, the whole leader. And of course Grindelwald wants to get rid of all the muggles, and this he's got this beast, the one that can select the leader. Yeah, sort of, that sounds pretty weird, but if it bows down, then
it sounds like the Sorting Hat.
Yeah. That's it basically. So that's the story. So they decide, what we've got to do is, you've got some other characters from previous movies in it. You've got the pie bloke. I can't remember any of their names. I'm really sorry. I can't
remember. Jacob Kowalski.
But Jack Kowalski, and obviously his girlfriend, the one that could read the mind. She's with Grindelwald now. Okay.
Yeah.
So
sorry. Okay.
It's all to do with the cases.
I want to let you talk without going into a rant.
I'll get on about this. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's okay. Well, the story is like, you got wizards, you got good wizards, you got bad wizards, you got wizards that don't know if they're good or bad, and that type of thing. And you got some of these beasts that, some of them are quite cute. You got the old little cutie things like that leaf thing that can pick locks, which is really handy person to have, isn't it? If you get locked up or someone got locked up, it's really, that's quite handy. And if you need something pinching, you've got that mole thing again, that pinches things, puts in his pouch. That's very handy in certain situations, pops in and that.
Yeah, the Niffler, as I say, with this franchise, I think that the creatures are the best thing. I like the creatures, but never mind, carry on. But already you can see that I feel like the creatures are going to be sidelined in this film, but never mind.
Okay. Well, surprisingly.
Okay.
Surprisingly, it wasn't as bad as the previous two. It was slightly better, the previous two. I mean, it was very, should we say, it was very schmaltzy in parts, with like characters coming back from the other one, or people getting back together, and they'd fallen apart, hadn't seen each other for ages. So there was all that sort of bits in it. But it was certainly, there was quite a lot of politics in it. It was very much like different sides, and like when they were voting for the different types. I don't know. I wouldn't say it's any sort of social commentary or anything, but it was. There were certainly certain tones about it, with little groups of people being real nationalists and other ones saying no. So you did have a bit of conflict there, political conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't. It's the best out of the ones I've seen. I mean, I hate Harry Potter. I do. I mean, I just, and as I say, like we said about the Fantastic Beasts ones, but this one did have a few redeeming qualities. It wasn't as bad as.
One question.
The only
question I want to know.
Is this going to be? Is this the obvious? Are you going to?
What's Mads like?
Yeah, and he does. I think in sometimes you do see his chest. There's he's got certain times. But
so this is Mads Mikkelsen. Mads Mikkelsen, who has replaced Johnny Depp as the character of Grindelwald. So obviously he's going to play a big part in this. And obviously this is the only reason Sharon might even possibly see this film ever.
Even contemplate it was because Mads.
Yeah. So anyway, basically the story is, I mean, maybe because when I was in Thailand I didn't see quite so much films in this, so this probably had more of, I wasn't so damning, should we say?
When I saw Wonder Woman 1984, and I hadn't seen the film for a while, and I was like, oh my god, that was all right. And then in the weeks afterwards, thinking about it, I was like, actually, no, that really wasn't.
It was awful. Yeah. But no, this is the best of the ones. This is a bit more. It's got enough in it. Hey,
Holly.
Sorry, I'm late.
It's got enough in it to give it a 3-star.
Okay, so a 3-star, and
3-star, yeah.
So Holly's
can you guess what film that is? Holly,
exactly. Can you figure out what film it is that Shaun has just given a 3-star?
I reckon it's Dumbledore.
It is Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. The Secret of Dumbledore. That's it. Shaun has finally. We're saying that Shaun has decided that he is going to be the grown-up in the room. He is going to be. He's going to be.
What's the film in the background, Holly? Of my background.
Oh.
Okay, for those of you who are listening to this and not actually watching it.
Sorry.
Really good question. I'm having a complete mental block.
Yep, Shaun has this habit of changing his background to films, to different films, and so right now he has a film. He has a film in the background, and actually, let me try and see if you can figure this out at home just by listening to this. This has Nicolas Cage. So this is Nicolas Cage in dressed in a black suit, white shirt, black tie, not like a normal tie, not like a tuxedo, holding two guns while looking at somebody off screen. So he's holding two guns up aloft. And I think it's quite a famous shot, and for some people that description might be enough for you to figure out what film is in Shaun's background right now.
I would just say it's slightly Tarantino-esque, though it's not.
Yes, it's a bit.
There's a large flower arrangement of what looks to be roses, and there is a cross on the wall.
Yes, so this is Nicolas Cage in a black suit, white shirt, black tie, carrying two guns aloft in what seems to be a church. And I can pretty much guarantee you that at some point after this scene, they were doves in slow motion. Now, all those things, all those things together, pretty much tell you who the director is and therefore tell you what the film was.
Frozen Rain.
Okay, so all those things we just mentioned, shootout in a church, doves, slow motion, they are all hallmarks of a certain Mr. John Woo. And this film is a double-hander between Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Oh, yes. I had wondered and then thought, I can't remember. It's so long since I've seen it.
Yeah, but don't worry. If you see the unbearable weight of massive talent, it will refresh it all for you. It will refresh it all for you. So yes, as I said, Shaun has decided to be the grown-up, and he's decided to go see the Secrets of Dumbledore. These Fantastic Beasts is going to be worse than the ape movies, the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the War for the Planet of the Apes. How you can never remember which one has what title. I think the Fantastic Beasts movies are going to be worse because they have given these titles that I feel like have nothing to do with what the actual film is. But Shaun says, and this is going to be my paraphrase, Shaun says that Mads Mikkelsen has shown up and saved the day. So Mads Mikkelsen has come and sprinkled his Mads magic all over the thing, as Sharon knew that he would. Sharon never lost the faith.
Never lost, yeah.
By the dint of not possibly being somebody who beats up their spouse, which I think is a big plus for people these days, isn't it? We like that in films. No domestic violence or any lawsuits thereof.
That thing is a mess that I don't even want to talk about.
We will save that for another day.
That whole thing is a mess I do not want to talk about. So it's all right, cool. So, and now we go on to what was originally going to be a final thing before we realized that Holly was going to just pop in and join us. So we Holly, if you have something that you want to talk about afterwards, you have the 5 minutes that I'm going to talk about Oxygene to figure out what that is. But I want to talk. So the film that I'm bringing to the table, from as we go back to the Netflix side of things, is a Netflix film. It's a film called Oxygene, or in French it's spelled with an E at the end. I'm not sure how the French spent, whether it's Oxygene, something like.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So, and this film is the idea. It's a very simple idea. The whole film starts off, and you have Mélanie Laurent, who's a woman who wakes up. The film starts off with her waking up, and when she wakes up, she's covered in this sort of like webbing, which she's trying to rip off her face, and you can feel her ripping it up, and she's trying to breathe, and she rips this thing off herself, and then she realizes that she's in a box, quite frankly. But it's not just a box; it's a high-tech box. There's an AI. There's all these sort of like swirly type. It's like being trapped in an iPhone. It's almost like she's been trapped in a box. If Apple invented a box, this is what this thing would be. And as it goes on, this AI starts talking to her and telling her, "Oh, my name is Milo. Oh, don't worry, I'm still here. Yes, my camera's gone off, so I will keep talking. So it's like this AI tells her, "My name is Milo. You are in a cryogenic chamber, and you have woken up prematurely from the cryogenic suspension that you're supposed to be in. Oh, and by the way, we've had a problem with the oxygen reserves. You have 37% of oxygen, and you have about 70 minutes to survive." And that's how the film kicks off. And then the entire film is pretty much takes place inside this cryogenic chamber. So all you see is Melanie Laurent, and you see her in this confined space trying to figure out why she's there, who she is, because she can't quite remember who she is because she just come out of cryogenic suspension. She's trying to remember, why am I here? Who am I? What is going on? How do I keep myself from dying in 72 minutes because I only have 37% of oxygen left? And she is 95% the only person you see in this entire film. And it's all about her, and I really love the way that they use the space, because it's just a box, and I think it has some similarities to the Ryan Reynolds film Buried, in that it's just kind of this person in this confined space. But I think it also has a little bit of The Martian in it. So if you ever saw The Martian, read the book, or watched the film with Matt Damon in it, where it's all about things are going wrong, and you've got to figure it out. You've got to figure it out based on just what you have there, but you have to figure it out in a logical, scientific way that makes sense, how to actually do this whole thing. And I think that's the genius of this film, in that the steps that she takes to figure out what's going on, why am I here, who am I, they are all logical, and the way she sort of works with the AI, because the AI does a lot of computer says no. It's like, no, sorry, can't do that. Sorry, no, can't do that. Computer says no. And then she has to figure out a way of asking the right question so that the AI does what she wants to do or gives her the information that she needs to have. And I thought this was a very, very good film. It was a recommendation I got from, if you've ever seen if there's a YouTube channel called What Culture, and they had a list of 10 sci-fi movies that 10 brilliant sci-fi movies that you probably have never seen, and this was on one of them. So I went through them, found of the 10, there's about 7 of them on Netflix. So I went and found them on Netflix, and said, okay, yeah, I'll give this a watch. And this is one I was really, really, really happy about. I was really happy. I think Melanie Laurent, who I've never seen act in French. I've only ever seen her act in English. And there's something about when people are acting in a second language that makes them sometimes almost a bit stilted, and you don't really get to see how good they are. And in this, I'm like, she is brilliant. She is brilliant. She holds your attention. And it's not until after the film's over that you go, hang on a second, that film was mostly her face. It's really, really well done, because you have sometimes you have simple things like this that can be well done or can be messed up. A bit like the Tom Hardy movie Lock, which is just him driving in a car and talking to people on the phone, but it's still really, really, really engaging. So it is. I think it's really well done. I think this is a great film. I would recommend this to anybody, and I would give Oxygene 4 stars. And I would say, so Shaun, this is one Netflix movie, and I know you have your whole thing about Netflix movies where you think that in Netflix movies the only thing that they do is they just make rubbish and then they expect you to come watch it. This is a film that has a Netflix title on it, but is not rubbish. It is one that I would 100% recommend you actually track and find out.
Okay. I did hear somewhere, I don't know if I heard it or read it or what it was, but was saying that because Netflix have actually spent too much money on making movies, and they're sort of in a bit of financial difficulty because they've just been making things, even if people aren't watching them. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, there's oh wait, hang on, that's my timer up for talking. Well, there's always a thing about that with Netflix. I know that the recent thing is that Netflix have lost about 200,000 subscribers, and they did go big and they did borrow a lot of money to make a whole bunch of original content, because they saw what was going to happen, which is that people started realizing Netflix was getting really, really powerful. So there's a whole bunch of people who had the content on Netflix started going, wait, why are we letting Netflix do this? So all of a sudden, next thing you know, that's why you have the streaming wars. all these different people started making their own streaming platform. So Disney Plus, we're going to have a Disney thing that we're going to take all the Marvel stuff away from Netflix and all the Star Wars stuff away from that. We're going to have that in-house. And then NBC said, we're going to have Peacock and we're going to bring everything. We're going to take Friends away from you. And then HBO went, okay, we're going to have HBO Max. And so all these different people who used to be happy to give Netflix their content are now going, hang on a second, Netflix model is working, so they're taking everything away from Netflix. So Netflix spent a whole bunch of money to make original stuff, so that when everybody takes everything away from Netflix, Netflix still has stuff to show. And so they have they've bet big on it. And the fact is that people will say, oh, they're in trouble, oh, this, oh, that. I don't really know. God knows. Nobody. It's like the VHS versus Betamax thing. Nobody really knows who's going to win.
It's just a rumor mill, isn't it? It's the rumor mill.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, so Netflix might be in trouble. Who knows? Netflix might not. But what Netflix definitely does have is more competition than they've ever had before. And than they've ever had before. But anyway, that was me. I would say 4 stars for Oxygene. I would recommend it. I would say go watch it. Melanie Laurent is brilliant. And it's just a really, really well-written script, a well thought out of how would you go about figuring out your way out of this mess. And I think even the point where it comes to is very logical. It's very logical, and I really, really like that in the film. So yeah, Oxygene. I would recommend that. So, Holly, did you have anything you wanted to bring forward?
I'm not bringing forward either a film or a series, but I'm going to mention that we talked the other week about Pieces of Her.
Yes, Pieces of Her, yes.
And I am now reading/listening to the book.
Yes, you said you bought that while we were recording.
Yes. So I have not finished it yet. I'm still at the beginning, and I'm mostly listening to the audiobook. But it already doesn't feel it's got a lot of similarities so far.
Yep.
I'd say it feels consistent, but and it's coming together nicely. So I will report back further as a point of comparison
to see whether it comes together nicer than the TV show.
Yeah, I will confirm whether or not it's actually good. And given it's Karen Slaughter, who is and I appreciate we're not here to talk about books, but she is an enjoyable author. She makes a good page turner. Lots of gore. We shall see. But,
all right, cool.
But
Netflix versus cinema versus a good book on a sofa in front of a fireplace. So
exactly.
So, all right, so Shaun has done it again. Shaun has decided that he's going to have yet another film in the background. And let me try this. Let me try and describe this and see if you can figure this out before you go online and you see what film he has. So, continuing the theme that we have this week, this is once again... Okay, let me just... Is there anybody who doesn't know who the actor in this shot is? No? Okay, so everybody knows. I can say it's Nicolas Cage. This is Nicolas Cage. This is young Nicolas Cage. We're talking like we're talking really young Nicolas Cage. He has a mustache on. He has quite prominent bushy eyebrows. I'll say he has sort of like highlights in his hair. He has a little bit of it's not quite a fringe, but he has hair that's flopping down to his forehead. He has a shirt on. It's a short-sleeved shirt that he's wearing. It's opened. It has a collar. It's blue. It has some sort of pattern on it, and he has what looks like a cut-off sweater underneath it. But this is the key thing that will give away what film this is that we're looking at behind Shaun. Behind him, he has what looks like a crib, and it looks like a crib or a cot, and it looks like it's a crib for multiple kids, and you can see some names over his shoulder, one called Larry, one called Gary, one called Nathan Jr. So this is Nicolas Cage in the film. Oh, the first one's called Harry, because we can see that on the bedspread. This is Nicolas Cage in a film that has to do with a lot of kids. He's standing in front of a crib, and he's looking up just as if he's just about to be caught. What film do we think this is?
I genuinely don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Arizona?
Raising Arizona, says Sharon. Shaun, let us know. What is that?
I thought the reason I put that in there, Toes, was because, hey, you're a star.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, that's right, because this is so. If you haven't seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, it is not really a spoiler to let you know that there is more than one Nicolas Cage in the film. So There's more than one Nicolas Cage in the film, and they have conversations with each other. And one of the Nicolas Cages is Wild at Heart era, Raising Arizona era Nicolas Cage, a young Nicolas Cage who essentially gives quite a graphic pep talk to old Nicolas Cage. So it's fun. It's fun. So yeah, that's why we have this on there. So all we have left to talk about is who do we think has won this week? I know Sharon has probably been doing her maths thing.
Well, yeah, go on. I think, I mean, this is me just thinking, just picked it this week. It's probably the streaming Netflix, I would think. You know, we'll go Netflix winner this week.
Okay.
That's for me. Yeah.
I think, yes, I think it's a tie.
Okay, Sharon thinks it's a tie. Holly, what do you? Okay, Holly, you weren't here for the whole thing, so you don't know.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, I've seen one cinema and one Netflix, in which case Netflix won.
Because what we had was Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, Secrets of Dumbledore on the cinema side, How It Ends on Netflix, and Oxygene on Netflix. And I will tell you that Shaun got it right by 1 star. By one star this week, Netflix has got it, and it was Oxygene that did it. Oxygene is the one that did it because we were having a nice, solid, steady week of 3 stars all across the board. And if Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent had managed to keep up its first hour going all the way to the end of the movie, we would have had a tie. But unfortunately, not so. So
That's where I thought the tie was, because we did talk about. Sorry, I thought that's where we had time to talk about how it was a 4 film at the beginning and then became a 3 film. And in my head, I was thinking, does that make it a 3.5 film? So that's where that's spelled me.
Yep, that's good. But okay, so but just before we say goodbyes, Holly, you said that you made it to the cinema this week.
Yes.
I take it you saw something we'd already seen.
I did. I saw Operation Mincemeat. You were absolutely right, Sharon. It is superb.
Hooray!
I will be. I'll watch it again when it's streaming.
There's a 70s film, isn't there, called The Man Who Wasn't There, I think, which is
The Man Who Never Was.
The Man Who Never Was. Yeah.
The Man Who Never Was. So, Sharon told us all about that in her review.
Oh, right, okay.
And it is the same story.
Yeah.
So well done, just brilliant. I was really, really, really impressed with it.
Oh, good stuff.
And
good stuff.
Recommendation.
Good stuff. All right, now we still need to watch The Eyes of Tammy Faye and get back to you, Holly.
Yes, I'm awaiting your feedback.
We still need to do that. And if you have listened this far, then thank you for number 1. And number 2, please do find us on whatever podcast thing there is that you found us on, be it Google Podcasts or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and leave us a review. Tell us what you think. Get in touch with us. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we should do better. Let us know whether Tosin should stop prattling and maybe take some cough medicine before he starts recording so he stops coughing. But anyway, until next week, when Sharon might have Sharon, what was the film that you might have to see? What was the film that you might be dragged to go see next week
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey, A New Era.
Ooh, Downton Abbey. I've not seen one Downton Abbey.
Well, I'm now watching all of the series so that I can come in with some background.
Oh, that's good. Who's been watching The Walking Dead? Did you go it, Sharon? Have you?
I'll tell you, Shaun, I can tell you who hasn't been watching The Walking Dead.
Who could that be? I wonder. Is that a good old friend?
Yeah. Not going there.
I think I'm pretty much up to date with it, but I don't know when we do a review of that, because I will have lots and lots to say about that one, but I'd like someone else to have seen it all as well. So.
Oh, okay, cool. And so the final thing, and also next week, by the time we record next week, I think I will probably be fresh off a midnight showing of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, which I will come back in. I imagine that Shaun, maybe you might be if you're around next week.
Probably,
Yeah, if you might be around next week. I know, Holly, you won't be here with us next week because you will be watching Doctor Strange while we're recording. And Sharon has a conundrum of whether she has to go somehow watch Spider-Man Far From Home before next week so that she can understand what the heck is going on in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Because that is the way Marvel rolls nowadays. So, but until that time, all I have to say is a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
We will see you all next week. Thank you for sticking with us this long. Thank you.